Today we are going to be removing the seal from this LG washing machine. This seal is quite dirty, and to really get a good clean, I was planning on removing it to be able to get into every crack and crevice. Here are the tools for this job. First we have a spring tool. This is absolutely mandatory for this job. It's to open the spring up around the washing machine seal, the two springs up. A Phillips-drive screwdriver. I prefer the short one. Needle nose pliers. And a small ratchet with a 10mm socket on it, without an extension because it will not fit. Step 1 will be to unplug the washing machine, just in case you hit any buttons. You won't. Okay, so to remove the seal, there are a couple of spring clips that go all the way around here. You can see the metal of the spring sticking out over here. What we're going to do is we're going to take our tool, our special tool with the little hooks here, and we're going to insert them right in and try to catch the metal of the spring onto the little hooks as best we can. And then you squeeze the tool to expand this spring, and bam, comes right out like that. I really could not recommend this tool enough. It really makes things a lot easier. I'll put the link for this tool in the description below, just so you know which one I'm using. Okay, I'm just going to use my rag to dry this seal a little bit. There's a little bit of water in there. So now this seal I'm going to pull downwards, and over here pull to the side, basically outwards along all the locations. Okay. And now you can see the washing machine is exposed here. Keep in mind, this edge is a little sharp, so just keep that in mind, don't cut yourself. So just to show you what we're looking at now, on the bottom there's a little hole there. It's pretty nasty, but there's a little hole there that will drain the water. There's a little connection there. You'll need to use your needle nose pliers to remove that tube over there. And at the top, you can't even see it, but there's another spring. If you put your hand in there, you can actually feel it here. That one's not very accessible. To get this off, you can pull it off by hooking it with a screwdriver and popping it off. But ultimately, to get on, it's going to be very difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the top of the washing machine and do it that way. It'll be more accessible, and it'll be easier to see what we're doing. To remove the top, there are two screws you need to remove. They are down here and on the same side. So not this top one, but the one in here. Okay, now we are going to put our hands on the edges and push. There we go. And lift. I'm going to shimmy a little bit. There we go. So now that the cover is off, here is what we're looking at. The seal that we want to remove is right over here. And there is a big weight, which I believe is used for anti-vibration purposes, that is blocking our view of the spring. So we're going to have to take this weight off. You are going to need a ratchet with a 10mm socket to remove 4 screws. One here, one there, one there, and one all the way at the end, 4 total. I would recommend leaving this most accessible one for last, because this weight, you'll have to be able to support it when you remove your last screw to keep it from falling. So to make that easier, I would leave the most accessible screw last. To get to the farthest screw, the one that's all the way down over there, I would actually recommend going through here in order to access it with your ratchet. Here's what we have. Hex head screw with a captive washer, so you don't have to worry about it falling off, at least on this particular model. 3 more. Now I'm going to remove the last screw. So again, just remember that you might have to support this when the last screw is loose and it's coming out. Okay, so now that the last screw is removed, this is only staying here because my hand is here. So I'm going to gently move it away, rotate it to be able to tilt it up and slide it out. Here is our weight that we just removed. Now that the weight is out of the way, we can see our spring. This one is a little trickier to grasp, so at least for removal, it's actually easier to simply slide it off. So I'm going to get my special pliers and I'm going to expand the spring. And now instead of trying to unhook it, I'm just going to pull it off. Now that this spring is slid off of the drum, I can reach in from the front, pull it off all the way and out. One thing to remember as you're pulling this spring out is that you still have your hose connected here, so you might want to disconnect it now. I'm going to, I think I'll do the lower clip as opposed to the upper clip. As you can see, I've used the needle nose pliers to slide the lower clip down, and now just to help it along, I'm going to use my flat blade screwdriver to kind of pry that black bit of hose off. Okay, there's our spring. And we can clean inside this plastic piece too, I suppose, although it looks pretty clean, but we can take that off now as well if we want to. Let's get to it. I'm going to pull out the seal. It is hooked around inside the machine, so you do have to kind of unhook it a little bit. Get a rag over here. Okay, here's what we're looking at. This is the seal. As you can see, the inside lip, and really a lot of it has quite a bit of mildew growing on it. I'm going to go ahead and clean it. In the past I've tried vinegar. It's had okay results. It really doesn't clean it all the way. I might try bleach this time. Also, you're going to want to wipe this area here, as it is quite dirty. Finally, check if this tube is clogged or not. You can look right into it. If it's not really allowing water to flow through it, you'd want to clean that as well, but in our case, it's actually pretty clean. Okay, so I have the seal in water, and I'm going to add some bleach to it. Again, you don't have to use bleach. Vinegar just didn't really work for me before, so I'm going to try bleach. I haven't tried it before. We'll see what happens. You do have to be careful with bleach with rubber seals, not to wear them out though, so just something to consider. I'll let it soak for 30 minutes to an hour, and rotate it from time to time, scrub it, and hopefully it'll be nice and clean. Make sure you wear gloves when you're handling bleach, long gloves. They don't have to have zebras on them, of course. Okay, so here's the seal after it has soaked for approximately 1 hour in the water with bleach, and after that rinsed off and let to dry, at least most of the way. It's definitely much better. I would not say that's perfect. Probably would need more time to soak for even more of the mildew to be removed, but it is better. Okay, let's install this back in. As you can see, the washing machine here has a white protrusion on the drum that goes all the way around. That is going to need to fit into this groove right here. So you're going to put that on with your fingers. And then as for the metal spring, that sits in this groove right over here. Okay, let's get to work. Again, first fitting the plastic part of the washing machine into that groove on the rubber part. I have to push the seal in there. Also, you'll see these features here on the seal. These two. There are corresponding features on the white drum portion, and you're going to line them up exactly to ensure that it's on straight. And then you work your way around, pushing on it with your thumbs. Continuing here on the top. To get the final part on, that's a combination of pushing and pulling to get that portion on, but we'll get there slowly but surely. Now we are going to need to put that metal spring on the machine, and you can see here that there's an indent right there, and there's actually a little bit of a mark left from where the spring was. You want to kind of have it in the same area as before. So I'm going to go ahead and put the spring on. I'll try to do it in this direction so that the hook part of the spring faces out towards me as opposed to in towards the machine, although I recall it doesn't really matter that much in the end. I have this connected ahead of time. Right now we're only getting the bottom half, I'd say, in position. And then once that bottom half is in position, we're going to expand the spring with our tool to slide the top half over and in. So let's go do that. Okay, there you see that this is, obviously that side is not over this hump yet, and it's really not going to be able to unless the spring is expanded. So let's do that right now. I'm going to get our tool hooked on there nicely. Okay, expand all the way with one hand. And now while that's closed, I'm going to go ahead and use my other hand to feed it into the groove on the other side. With one hand. I could see if you're really struggling of getting either a zip tie or a clamp or something, and zip tying this tool closed until you're done feeding that spring all the way around. So as you can see, I got it all the way around the groove. I'm just going to double check from the other side by feel, of course, that we're still seated as far as the seal goes, and that it didn't pop out anywhere, because once I release the spring, it's going to be very difficult to adjust it, or you're not going to be able to adjust it, you're going to have to redo it to get it to seat properly. I'm going all the way around, so far so good. I think we're not bad. So there you can see it. Still expanded, so now I'm going to start letting go. And then I'll just need to release the the special tool, the pliers, I guess you could say. Okay, I'm going to start releasing. And be careful also. Again, there are sharp edges and everything. I'm actually having some trouble releasing right now. I've released it, but it doesn't want to come out. So we're going to need to get our needle nose pliers to help it along. And again, be careful, don't cut yourself, because I could definitely see that happening here if you slip somewhere. What I'm trying to do is hold the spring with the other set of pliers to release this one. There we go. And then this one can come out. Got it. No, that was a little hard to see, but basically I had these pliers like that, and due to the little grooves here, it didn't want to release because of the tension on the spring. So what I ended up having to do, and again imagine that this is in the spring, is I had to grab the spring with my needle nose pliers over here, pull it in that direction to take the tension off of that groove there. So I grabbed, pushed that way, and then I was able to get this one out, and then once one was out, then it was easier to pull the second one out. I hope that was clear. I'm going to get one more shot here so you can see exactly what that looks like. Okay, let's go back down, and we are going to put get that black piece of hose back onto the seal. Just kind of push it in, and a combination of push and pulling, I suppose. Okay. You can kind of see that I've managed to push it on right there. Next step will be to get the clamp, which I've slid down when I took it off, to grab it with the needle nose pliers and slide it back up into the correct position. So I'm grabbing the tips of that clamp. I think that looks pretty good. There we go. Okay, with the inner spring installed, before we go ahead and install the outer spring from the outside of the machine, we are going to go ahead and put that big weight back on here. If you remember, we had to access some of those bolts through the front of the machine to be able to reach them. So that's why we don't want to install the outer spring now, because then you'd lose that access. So I'm going to put the weight in with the text facing towards you, and the counter bores for the screws facing towards you as well. I'm going to put this side in. Right side down goes first. Feed the whole thing in until it's inside the machine, and then once it's past this point, this cross member, then you're going to go ahead and rotate it inside the machine, and then bring it up so that it's hooked on to those bosses for the screws. One thing to remind you of as you're going in here to tighten all these screws is you're going to be doing a lot of this by feel without really good access or good visual on it. So really make sure you don't drop anything, because if you do, it'll go inside the washing machine and it'll be difficult to access. And you'll probably have to even take the seal back off if you drop something in there. So really make sure not to drop anything. And as you're going around, making sure they're all tight. Keep in mind, they need to be tight, but nothing insane. I mean, don't try to strip the threads on the washer, of course. Okay, now let's get the second spring on there. First, we're going to pull this all the way around, and you're going to hook it around like so. Very good. Now if you'll notice down here, there's a little bit of an indent. You want the spring part to sit right in that indent, because the indent is there to provide the adequate spacing for that spring. I'm going to go ahead and put this spring on. I actually tried putting the tool on ahead of time to keep it from wiggling as much. And just make sure you don't go past the grooves, because otherwise it'll be hard to take it off later. Take the tool off of the spring later, that is. Okay, so I'm just feeding it in all around. Looking good. And now that's in there, start releasing. I'm going to go ahead and use my needle-nose pliers to help it along. There we go. That's it. Be careful not to scratch this part of the metal with the tool, because it's kind of easy to get the paint, to nick the paint. So all that's left for us to do is to put on the cover. If you remember, these two screws are what hold it to the back. They go in this way. We lay the cover down, align it. There's approximately, say 3/4 of an inch over here between the front panel and the top of the cover. We slide everything towards us. It's nice and even. Get our screws and rotate them in. All set. Now we plug in the washing machine. And we're done. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And also don't forget to leave a comment, especially if you have any suggestions or requests. And finally, if you like the shirt that I'm wearing, Marcus Vespasianus Agrippa, Sword of the Emperor, which is a figure from ancient Rome, I recently started an Etsy store called Imperial Wares. That's Imperial with an I, and it features various historical figures and events. Right now I have a bunch of Roman, Byzantine, and one Germania designs. I do all the designs myself, so come check it out. Thanks.